What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Practice the Podcast, where we fuse research and culture to help you develop the mindset, habits, and skills that you need in order to live out your purpose with confidence. I'm your host, Coach Reese. Now it's time to get better. Let's grow.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Practices are meant to be competitive. They're meant to be competitive. If your practices aren't more competitive than the games themselves, you're doing the wrong thing.
So y'all, today I'm super excited to talk to you about this concept that I've been really working in over the last 5 or some years. And I really am still trying to master it. And that's what excites me. It's called the hustle in flow mentality. And I'm excited to share it with you guys via podcast today because I put a blog out about it this last week. But now I'm like, I gotta be able to spit this out so people can really see and hear the energy behind the hustle in flow mentality. So our song for today's episode is Hustler by Cassidy. Now this joint is a complete banger and it's something I have to play almost on a weekly basis. Reason being is because when I hear it, like I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler, homie. Like it literally gives me energy because that's who I am. So you got that. Obviously, we've talked about before, Hustle and Motivate by Nipsey, which is one of my favorite songs as far as like demeanor. But when I hear hustle, like I'm a hustler, it takes me back to high school and college. And I think about like how this was a demeanor, a mentality, something that I embody. Like I'm a hustler, homie. Ask about me. All you got to do is ask about me. I'm a hustler. And the reason why this is our song for today is because we're talking about the hustle in flow mentality, the hustle in flow mindset. And when I was really thinking about a mindset and a mentality that was going to allow me to execute at a high level and sustain and be productive, it was the hustle and flow. Like I could not separate who I am from being a hustler. There's no way. And everything about my entrepreneur journey, and I think for almost anybody's entrepreneur journey, is about the hustle. You have to be able to hustle. So the song for today, right? Hustle by Cassidy featuring Jay-Z. I'm a hustler. He's really coming through on it. The other thing that I want to talk about, right, is the research. The research behind this is really rooted in flow. And flow is one of the most addictive states that we as humans can experience because it releases 5 of the most potent neurochemicals. Now, here's the thing about flow, right? Is 5 of the most potent neurochemicals that we can experience. And when all 5 of those are wired and they're fired, it becomes an addictive state because our body is literally experiencing something that almost for some people describe as an out-of-body experience. That's why it's called flow. Now, I've talked a little bit about flow before, but I haven't talked about them together. And I'll talk about what I mean and why I mix together hustle and flow. So when we're talking about flow, there's 5 different neurochemicals that we want to look at. One is, I struggle with saying it, so you're just going to have to bear with me. It is what it is. Neuropilin. And I know I'm saying it wrong, so judge me if you want to. But what this does is it increases our heart rate and it breaks down fat and increases the blood and sugar levels within our body that provides energy to us. So you can get this from a couple different areas: exercise, sleep, having small accomplishments, music, meditation, and eating dopamine-rich foods like chocolate. Okay, so that chemical is released when you do those things. The next one is endorphins. A lot of us have probably heard more of endorphins than this other one, but endorphins is tapped into our hormones, which helps us relieve pain and stress. This is why this is really important, because if you're in a state where you're like, I feel like I'm releasing and relieving pain and stress, that clearly feels good to you. So here's where you get this: exercise, laughing, music, dancing, meditation, sex, and chocolate. So when you engage in those 7 activities, endorphins are released in your brain, right? The next one you got is dopamine. You've probably heard of this one as well. When it comes to dopamine, you have a sense of pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. So think about this. You've got an increased heart rate that breaks down fat. You've got a hormone that's released that taps into relieving stress and pain. improving your well-being and happiness. Now you also have something that gives you a sense of pleasure and satisfaction and motivation. Like, of course, this is exactly the place that you want to be in because of all of these feelings that your nervous system and your brain gets to operate in. I didn't even tap into the other two. So dopamines are released when you get sleep, exercise, music, meditating, the sun, and you have a balanced diet, and again, exercise. The next thing is serotonin. We've probably heard of this one before. Serotonin taps in with your mind, your mood, cognition, rewards. It helps with learning and your memory. This comes from exercise, getting light, massages, and then certain food. So you're probably starting to see a pattern here. There's a couple basic things that you can do in order to get into flow state. The next piece and the next asset is anandamide. I'm saying this funny and I'm not editing it out because we're just rolling with the punches. Anandamide. Oh my gosh, this is kind of embarrassing at this point. I can't pronounce it. So we're just gonna have to run with it, and I'm okay with that. Anandamide. Anandamide. I think that's how you say it. So, anyways, I'm not a neuroscientist in that way to be able to say all of these words like that, but I know what they mean. So, this one gives us memory, appetite, and it helps us with sleep and pain relief. And what we get from this we get this from exercise, CBD, and chocolate. So when you think about all of the main areas, right, that we're able to tap into flow, exercise, all of these, right? Laughing is good. Our sleep and our eating patterns. Those are pretty much some of the main areas that you can do or tap into in order to influence the flow state. Meditation was one that also came up in all these areas. So if you're like, okay, I want to be able to tap into flow because flow is something that's going to allow me to produce on a higher level. It's going to allow me to be more, increase my productivity. It's going to allow me to execute in a way that I want to be able to execute and sustain my execution. Now, the thing about flow is when you're in flow, you only want to be here for a matter of like 60 to 90 minutes. That's about it. 60 to 90 minutes. It's not a state that you want to induce and then stay in it for forever. Flow is a state that you want to be in for 60 to 90 minutes and then you want to come out and take a break. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but it's okay for where we're going today. So flow is a psychological state that's induced by all 5 of these neurochemicals, potent 5 neurochemicals being able to fire at one time, and then it allows us to go into a state that increases high productivity, execution, and it really taps into our mindset. So when I say I hustle in flow, I try to create pockets, as many flow pockets as I can throughout the day. So I'm hustling, but I'm hustling in flow. I hope that makes sense. So I learned that who I am at the root and the core of who I am is a hustler. You can't pull the hustle out of me. I developed hustle with being an athlete and with being a coach. With being an athlete, it was like, I'm getting after it. I'm diving on the ground. I'm taking charges. I'm getting rebounds. I'm sprinting up the floor. I'm doing all the things that, as a hungry hooper that you do. And I learned that when you hustle, you stay on the floor longer. I learned that when you hustle, you enjoy the game more because you're a part of all the little details of it. So who I am is a hustler at the root. And I learned that when I apply that same mentality to entrepreneurship, that's how I get after it. So when I hear songs like Hustle and Motivate or Hustle by, Cassidy, it's just like, I feel like it's speaking to my soul. But what I learned though, is you can't stay in hustle state 24/7 either. Because the reason why I had to figure out a new mind frame to live by was because the grind was killing me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Even when you think about grind and things when they're grinding together, that means eventually it's going to break down. It's literally to break something down. And so I was like, I don't want to be broken down. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to reach exhaustion. So for me, it's how do I maximize my potential in every single area of life while being a high producer, high productivity, high performer, but also really mindful about what it is that I'm doing. Insert hustle and flow. So in the flow state, in hustle state, it's really important to be able to take breaks, right? Like if you're out there hooping or you're playing any sport or doing anything, all hustlers need timeouts. Why? Because if you're hustling super hard, you don't get tired and you're gonna need a timeout so that way you can build back up your energy, take a deep breath, get some water, get some food, whatever, and then get back after it, right? So you can't stay in hustle state for too long, and you also can't stay in flow state for too long. But when you hustle and flow, you're giving yourself everything you need in that time frame. Then you take a break, recoup, and then get back after it. And this is something that I've found works very well for me in my day-to-day operation. Now, some days look different than others. Some days don't allow as many flow state productivity, like as far as like sitting at my computer and getting things done. Because some days I'm out on the stage, I'm out coaching, I'm out doing something actively versus sitting down and doing something. And so I notice too, often when I'm speaking, I'm starting to get into flow state as well. And that feels really dope because it's like being on the floor as a hooper and just being in flow state and feel like, oh, I'm getting buckets, I'm getting off, like I'm really doing it. And I'm starting to feel that same experience while I'm speaking, which to me is an amazing feeling. And it tells me and reminds me that I'm in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing. So I say all this to you because the theme of this season of the podcast was how do you win the year starting in the first quarter? And I believe adopting the hustle and flow mindset is something that's going to allow you to abstain from burnout. It's something that's going to allow you to prevent falling to imposter syndrome. It's something that's going to allow you to prevent having to adopt the grind mentality, because for what? I think the grind is kind of played out. That's just my personal perspective. Now, do I think there are moments where you need to insert the energy that the grind produces? Yes. And I just would call that hustle. But the reason why I had to walk away from the grind lifestyle in mindset and mentality was because the grind took more than it gave. It didn't have any room for failure. It didn't have any grace. It only inserted shame in pressure and something that really made me inhumane. And I wasn't a fan of it. There was no empathy there. There was no area for growth holistically. And so I believe that the hustle and flow mindset is something that is a holistic work ethic development thought process and mentality. It leaves room for other aspects of life. It leaves room for family and friends and fun. It also leaves room, for working really, really hard and getting things done, right? There's the, work smarter, not harder, but like, I want to do both. Like I want to work harder because working harder makes me better. It feels good to work hard, but I don't want to have to work harder because my systems are lacking, right? Like that's two different things, right? Oftentimes people are saying work smarter, not harder, if you're doing something that's not really wise. And so I like to use, I want to work wise. And I believe that when you're in hustle and flow state, you are being wise in what you do. You're being wise in your production simply because of how your brain is being set up, because of the neurochemicals that are coming to play, because of the mindfulness that's activated, because of your level of focus and concentration. Those are the things that are going to influence wiser behavior, wiser execution, habits, and practices that allow you to sustain and scale what is it you're trying to develop. So that's my thought process. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm still, every day is a different day of trying to maximize it and figure it out. And it's something that I think that you should adopt because I think it has sustainability. I think it's holistic. I think it's a mindset, a mentality, a behavior that all of us can adopt in some way if we're trying to be high achievers. So you have hustle, you have flow, you put them two together, you have the hustle and flow mentality that gives you space for grace, for forgiveness, for failure, for confidence, for development, for holistic human development as well. It also gives you space to create balance. And balance is something I think is really necessary in this because balance is at the root of humanity, I believe, because humility, because humanity as well. But really because when you are able to balance that allows you, in my perspective, for you to be able to be present. And I think that's a big deal. So being present is the key to all of this. Being present is the key to flow. You can't be in flow and not be present. And you can't be present and in flow isn't something that's happening, right? If that makes sense. So in order for you to activate flow, you have to be present. You have to be able to focus on what is it you're doing and how you're doing it. So flow is not absent of balance. Because again, to me, balance is equal to being present in the moment and being able to execute on whatever it is and being where your whole body is at, right? So as we kind of wind down this episode and we wind down this quarter, my mission going into the next quarter of this year is really to hustle and flow more. And what that looks like is being more deliberate with how I'm spending my time, being more intentional with how I'm setting up meetings, how I'm setting up just kind of everything, and making sure that I have a full picture of what I want my days and weeks and months to kind of look like. Because as an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur for time freedom. And when I feel like I'm not able to leverage or enjoy my time freedom, then I got to say, whoa, what am I doing? Right? I shouldn't feel like a slave or chained to specific things and not being able to move and operate in a way that I want to when like I'm living a lifestyle that I get to create. But there are other moments where it's like, you got to hustle. You got to hustle to make this happen. And you have to be quick. You have to get after it. You have to be hungry. And so knowing that the hustle and flow is also fluid, and knowing that there's certain times for certain things, because there's a time and a place for everything. So as we close out this quarter in this season, I hope that you were able to get closer to achieving whatever it is that you set out to achieve throughout this whole year of 2023. And as you think about how you spend your time, as you think about how your execution was, really take some time to reflect and say, okay, did I get what I wanted to get? And if I didn't, why not? Did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? And if I didn't, why not? Was I as disciplined as I wanted to be? And why not? Right? Or why? And so right now is a time of reflection. I think at the end of every single quarter calls for some major reflection, because I believe that anybody can change, their life and their landscape within a matter of 3 months. And at the end of this 3 months, which is the end of every quarter, I take time to reflect. And I think that that's something we should all do, so you can look back and say, okay, I liked the way that I operated this last 3 months. And if you didn't, then what are we doing? We got to get to the root and figure it out. And if you did, now how do we get better? Take time to enjoy it, celebrate the wins, write in your confidence log, write in your failure journal, all those different things, and then say, boom, how do I get after it that much more going to this next quarter? Because if I can get this good in this quarter, now I can learn from all this, bang. How do I get that much better next quarter? And so for me, it's activating hustle and flow that much more to increase the productivity in flow, also increase the time that I get to spend with my family when I'm outside of flow, but still being present, but getting filled up in joy in my happy place in other areas. So that way I'm having a holistic experience of my life, right? I'm not just enjoying joy in different pockets, but I'm also enjoying my work heavily, what I'm producing, my content, my curriculum on all avenues, finishing my doctorate, all of that stuff. But I'm also really enjoying the personhood, the humanity of my life and my family and the joy that I get from that piece. And so neither is getting less of me, but I'm able to give all of me and be present in all these areas. So for me, that is the mission, is to grow in that way. And I hope that you are able to set a mission as you go into this next quarter of what is it you want to achieve and what does that look like? And maybe the hustle and flow mindset is something that you can tap into that allows you to get done what you're trying to get done. So I appreciate y'all for being here. I appreciate y'all for rocking out with your girl. I hope that you found value in season 2 of Practice the Podcast. I'd highly recommend that you go back and listen to some other ones. I will be better. I'll be better. I want to make sure that I showed up today and got this out because I missed last week, and I wanted to, because I just was like, yo, I violated some personal boundaries on my own, and I gave up way too much time in some other areas. So when it came time to doing this, I was like, I don't have it. I can't get in front of a camera with swollen eyes and just be like, I didn't have it. So it was really, really important for me to make sure that I came in here, I got this done, and I delivered in a way with what I had. And the mission is to continue to get better from here on out, right? And keep delivering a message to you that I hopefully is something that you're able to apply to your life, that is valuable, and that helps you get better, because you come to practice to get better. And so that's my hope for you. So 3 takeaways for y'all. Figure out what your hustle is. What do you need to hustle? What do you need to sustain your hustle? Figure out of these different areas when it comes to flow. When it's sleeping, it's exercise, it's working out, it's music, it's meditation, eating chocolate, CBD, sex, getting some sun, all those things. Figure out what you need, what works best for you. And then one thing that I do, this is my 3rd tip for you, is I create an actual D&D on my phone. So I have a flow state D&D on my phone. It has like a brain, and actually I'll throw it up here if you're gonna watch the the video experience. But I've got the brain, it's got this, it says flow, and then I have a actual playlist as well. So I've got my flow state, and I have my playlist, and that means nobody can come through, no phone calls, no contact, no nothing. And then the playlist is all like jazz, Mozart, that kind of stuff. Like it's just instrumentals, struggling. And I throw my headphones on and I just meditate, and I slide right in that joint. And it feels so good to be hyper focused on one thing. And the amount of stuff that I'm able to get done in that 60 to 90 minutes is impeccable. I love it. It's most addictive. I literally feel it when I don't experience it in a day, because I'm somebody who loves to execute and get things done. So I'm not only addicted to it because of the neurochemicals that are activated there, I'm addicted to it because of the amount of stuff I get to accomplish at the same time. So that's my recommendation for you. Make a D&D thing on your phone, do not disturb. Also make a playlist so that way you can listen to that if you like it. No words, all instrumental music. Figure out of those 7 main areas, what is it that you need in order to get in the flow, to be present. And then figure out, what's your hustle like? Did you hustle enough this last quarter? Do you need to hustle more? Like, what do you need? But at the end of the day, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. I appreciate you for being here. Again, I hope that this added value to your life in some way, shape, or form. Please make sure you tap in with your girl. I'm out here. I'm accessible till I'm not. But it's all love, always, from me to you. I appreciate you. Practice the podcast. Coach Reese. Until next time. Peace.